Hello, fellow Geeks Under Grace. This week I'm going to be talking with two filmmakers who were involved with the production of the independent film Smalltown Wisconsin. I don't want to butcher their names by messing it up somehow, so I'm going to let them introduce themselves individually and kind of talk about who they are and what they do. Uh, who wants to talk first? Just kind of introduce yourself.
Niels Muller. I'm the director and producer of the film, and with me here is
David Sullivan. He cast me to play Wayne in the film.
Now, for someone who hasn't seen the film, can you explain who Wayne is and what the film is, and what's your elevator pitch for when people ask you about it?
I don't know. I think Niels and I would probably have two different pitches. I don't know. They'd probably be pretty close to the same. Basically, the elevator pitch is, for me, a struggling alcoholic who loses custody of his kid and has like one last weekend to make it right.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think that yeah, I like that.
I would have been curious if you guys both had completely different reads on it, but so how did the project kind of come together for both of you then? I know you when you were at the film festival, David. We obviously, for anyone who is just tuning into this, you and I met at the El Dorado Film Festival about a month ago, and there was a Q&A segment where you talked kind of about how you got cast in it. But what was can you repeat some of how your side of the process for how you got involved with the film, and then same question for Neil afterward. How did the project kind of develop for you?
Well, Niels kind of came across this script a while ago, and he's a busy big producer type in Hollywood, writer, director, producer in Hollywood, and a lot of times you kind of get stuck on, not stuck, but when you have the good fortune of being a part of a TV show, especially an executive producer, it requires a lot of time and energy. And so he came across, and I'll let him speak for himself, but from what I understand, like, he came across this film and he really wanted to make it, but he just couldn't quite find the right time, the right cast, have everything line up. And I was fortunate enough to just get an audition in my email and a request for a self-tape. And so it was just another, audition for me, except for this one, like, I really liked it. I mean, as an actor, I'm fortunate to do what I do. But sometimes it's unfortunate, the amount of email or scripts or pitches or just contacts that reach out to me wanting me to read something, and I start reading it and I just don't enjoy it. Not to say that the work is bad, it just didn't connect to me. And I read these sides, and as soon as I read the sides, I had to read the script. And as soon as I read the script, I was like, okay, I know this guy, let's tape. Like, usually I have to sit on it for a little while, I have to run the lines, I have to get it in me, get it in my bones. But it's funny, I just felt like I knew these people. I come from a small town. It's not Wisconsin, but I do come from a small town, and it felt familiar to me. And I knew that if I had the opportunity, that I could kind of elevate this script. But the only bad thing was my audition was for, and not the bad thing, but the as an actor, you always want the best, biggest, boldest, greatest part ever. And sometimes you're just sent, a couple lines on a TV show, and it's like, but I want the other part. So in this experience, I was sent the role of Chuck, which I loved Chuck, and had it worked out differently, I would have loved to have played Chuck. But I auditioned for Chuck, and I sent the tape in, and I wasn't good enough for Chuck. And so Niels was like, you know what, Chuck's a more complex role. He has more nuance. He has more gravitas. And maybe you can play this other role. And so I ended up putting that role on tape, meeting with Niels, doing chemistry reads as both characters, and with different actors. And eventually he came to the conclusion that I had what it took to be Wayne, and which is the character that I felt all along that I really like this guy. I just wish I had the opportunity to play him, and Niels gave me that opportunity.
How about you, Niels? Then, what was the? I know you have you work in Hollywood. What kind of stuck out to you about this project, and what made you want to pursue it?
Yeah, so the script came to me originally, well over 10 years ago. Alexander Payne is a good friend from UCLA Film School, had come developed the script a bit with the original writer, who's a native Wisconsinite also, and I just had never forgotten. Yeah, exactly like Sully said, it kind of takes an alignment of the planets to get a film to come together, a film worth making. We couldn't find the financing. The script wasn't quite ready. Really the whole indie world was collapsing when I first tried to get the script going. But I always remembered the story, and the original writer had really written these blue collar Wisconsinites so well because he grew up there. His parents, factory working, hardworking Milwaukeeans. And to his credit, when I came back to him and said, I want to give it another shot to get this made, he said, well, Niels, take this script, make it your own. And I did. And as a director, I got in there and did some work. And the two elements the element that I thought was absolutely crucial to make this story work was to achieve an authenticity with the material. And the two elements to achieve that for me were casting and location. I really wanted to shoot in Wisconsin. I wanted Wisconsin to be a character in the film, not just because I grew up there and I love the state, but because I think it's important. It has its, people often talk about a homogeneous American culture. Well, I don't think that's really the case. There are regional differences, even differences within states and small regions. Culture shifts, and so I really want to capture Wisconsin culture and specifically small town Wisconsin, which I grew up in suburban Milwaukee, but I worked with guys like Wayne Stobierski and Chuck. And my father, until he sold the business, had an office furniture store, and I worked in the warehouse with guys who reminded me so much of Wayne and Chuck. And I also used to go out to farms in New Holstein with my father's business partner, who was like an uncle to me. And I just knew that world well, and it's kind of a forgotten part of the country. Certainly, when I went to school back east, and people would say, and I'd be going home to Wisconsin for Christmas break, and they'd say, "Well, you're going to go skiing at Vail?" I realized, oh man, people really don't know the center of the country, because Vail's pretty far from Wisconsin. So anyway, so I was really happy to actually get to make this film authentically in Wisconsin with the right actors, and God bless our financier, Lu Hongtao, great Chinese producer and financier, who just said to me, "Niels, go after the right actors. Don't look for that same list of people who are saleable in France and Germany. Get the right people, and it will become saleable in France and Germany." And that's how we went about making the film.
What made it kind of more effective to happen now as opposed to before? Other than, you said, the collapse of the independent film industry as you saw it.
Well, I think two things. One, we worked very hard to make this film achievable on a budget, and just worked very, very hard together with Scott Foley and Josh Rosenberg, my producing partners, who are both native Wisconsinites, to create a believable budget. In fact, we achieved our budget and came in slightly under budget, but a plausible budget up front, because I say plausible because you never know until you've made the film. It was an accurate budget. And the other thing was, when I got in there a bit on the story, what I had in mind was making sure that the story had its proper context in our current social, political setting. It's not a political film at all, but it has its social commentary, and I was really careful with what I wove in to make sure that that we really understood that we were looking at Wisconsin in the context of a state that's become a swing state, that has a sort of dissatisfaction in parts of the state. And that's kind of one of the things we wanted to at least background-wise, look at what exactly is going wrong in the heartland. Why is there this rural addiction crisis? So we're looking at those things, like just simple things like Wayne saying, when the judge says, well, your ex-wife's husband, he has his company offers full medical coverage for your son. Well, he don't need it. He's a healthy kid. There's commentary right there. There's an attitude that we understand. And when his sister says, I was this close to having diabetes. The doctor told me to cut out the potatoes. I don't have how much did it cost? Wayne says, how much did it cost you to have the doctor tell you to eat fewer potatoes? I don't have the money for that. So we're looking at those things that are underlying the crisis in the Midwest and our rural areas as well.
Sure. I thought it was kind of funny that the movie's release coincided with Hillbilly Elegy. I don't know if you saw that on Netflix yet, but it's kind of approaching the same things, although I think yours actually did it a lot better than the multi-million-dollar Netflix movie.
I have been told that. I haven't seen it yet either, but I have been told that. I have not seen the film though. But yeah,
that's funny that multiple people have made that connection. I mean, I know the film's run at a couple film festivals. Where has it run in total? Like, I know it hasn't gotten wide release yet, but I know it's like Boston, El Dorado. Where else has it been?
Yeah, so we're up at an excellent festival up in Canada right now, Whistler, which is one of their big festivals, and Scott Foley, my producing partner, is on calls today. They've got a really great virtual meeting setup going on. We premiered at the Sarajevo Film Festival, which is a great international film festival. Boston was our U.S. premiere. We were at Milwaukee, at El Paso. We won. We won Best Feature in El Paso. El Dorado, by the way, just sent me this.
Hey, nice.
Best Feature El Dorado. We won Audience Award for Best Feature at Santa Fe. I don't mean to brag, but we're proud of the accolades that have come our way.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, if you run it for multiple film festivals and multiple people have made that connection, it's funny that both these films are coming out relatively within the same time period. Like, I mean, and obviously it's more serendipity than intention. It's not like one of those like we're gonna make a Redbox movie that's exactly the same as the one coming out. It's gonna be called The Defender, and it's gonna be like a superhero movie. It's gonna be really cheap, but it's kind of funny that both those things coincided, you know?
Yeah, it always happens that way. I don't know how much we have in common with it or not, because I haven't seen the film and I haven't read the book. But I know setting-wise and some of the issues we deal with, I have a feeling they probably have very different characters and stories, but similar setting.
Yeah, that one's rural Ohio. I mean, you're 3 states away, but same kind of ideas of addiction and abuse and things like that. Although that movie is a great deal more dour than yours is, and that's kind of funny considering what happens in yours.
Yeah, I mean, if you're listening to our conversation so far, you wouldn't realize how funny this film is, because I mean it's one of the. I mean, we won Best Comedy in Reykjavik in Iceland. So yeah, a lot of great humor, and that's brought by Sully and Bill Heck and Kristen Johnston, great, one of our truly great comedians, is in the film. So yeah, a lot of laughter and heart along the way.
Well, not to throw you under the bus, was that your addition to the script, or was that in the original script that you got that when at the writing stage?
Oh man, Jason Nachek, who wrote the original draft, is funny. He had so much humor, and I did my best in my directorial capacity to build off of that. And then our actors, I don't possess them, even though sometimes I just want them all to be. They're my actors. The guy, like when Sully would, just quick aside, when Sully would, like he mentioned audition tapes, and Sully and Bill Heck would sometimes go off to make audition tapes in the evening after we're done with filming. And I told him, I said, I kind of feel like you're cheating on me, because when you make a film, it becomes so insular. You're such a family. But yeah, so great work from Jason, and then I built on that, and then like I said, Sully and the actors just brought so much humor that you can never put on the page, just invention, and yeah, so it is a collaborative art, that's for sure.
Sure.
Yeah, I think too. It's just it's real human. Like there weren't any like really hard written jokes in the script. It was just people who were in these given circumstances, and there happened to be humor in those circumstances. Like I don't think ever did we just go for a joke. It was just, I mean, and there are a couple parts in the film that are like really funny that actually weren't even. I mean, there was the part where Bill actually reaches out for his friend when he's most in dire need of support from his friend. And after he's been up all night finding out that his wife's been cheating on him, and his best friend is right, even though he doesn't want to admit that his best friend is right. And he tells me that I'm right. And of course my response is, yeah, I know, I'm always right. Like in his mind, he's always right. And then eventually, like, he reaches out to hug his friend, and his friend has already gone into the bedroom because he doesn't know how to deal with this type of intimacy. So like this stuff happens in real life, and it's hilarious on screen, but that wasn't funny to Chuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was shitty. Like, how dare him say that he's always right? And that wasn't funny to Wayne, seeing his friend in pain like that. But on screen, it's funny because it's like, oh, I can empathize with that. I can see how this is funny. But yeah, it's as good as the script was. Like, there weren't any like hard hitting jokes in it, but it just, the freedom that Niels gave us to play, and just the chemistry that he built between the entire cast, like some things just turned out to be really funny.
So what was the actual process of shooting the film like then, for both of you?
Well, I mean,
what Sully just outlined, I mean, that is true situational comedy. We call it sitcom, and we're the furthest from sitcom, the definition that sitcom has taken on, because that has now become about writing, about set up punchline. But really, the term sitcoms came from exactly what Sully just outlined. It came from circumstance, from the situation. All of our humor, exactly like Sully describes, really comes from this very grounded human place. But man, if that isn't some of the funniest comedy that you can watch. Sorry, Sully. Go ahead.
Yeah.
What was your question again, Tyler?
I'm saying what was the process of filming like, but I think more what I'm asking is what good stories kind of came out of the process of shooting it, because I think that's kind of the fun stuff, is the chaotic the film set stories that always end up coming out of every production you end up shooting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Niels may know more than I know, because he has to deal with I mean, as soon as he calls cut for the last shot of the day, that's when he starts working on the next day. Like when I hear cut, it's like, all right, cool. Where can I get a beer? Like, a real beer, not a fake beer. So he could probably answer that better than I can. But I mean, for me, he just built a world that was easy for us to live in. He surrounded me and the rest of the cast with characters that we truly enjoyed being around. I mean, we'd only known each other maybe for a week or two at one point, where I reached out to a friend of mine who I knew was from somewhere around Milwaukee, and I thought that maybe he had family that I could go visit for lunch. And he was like, "No, you know what? My mom has a lake house, and you should go visit her." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, how far is it?" "It's only 30 minutes away, you know." And I was like, "Oh, well, I kind of, would it be okay if I invited somebody else?" And he was like, "Yeah, more the merrier." And I'm like, "Wait, you're not even going to be there. I've never met your mom, and you're saying that I should just bring whoever I want?" So yeah, I reached out to the rest of the cast. I was like, "Guys, you want to go to this lake house?" And it was amazing. We were just going to go for the afternoon, and we ended up staying 2 nights. We went on I think it was like Friday afternoon. We ended up staying Friday night and Saturday night, and it just could not. We cooked burgers. We were out on the lake all day. We were on tubing. It was just really, really cool. And again, I mean, a lot of times, for me anyway, when I'm on a set, I come in, I do my job, I go home, I go to bed, I study my lines, I get up and go back to work. And I don't really get the opportunity to form these relationships where you really, really want to hang out with these people. But that's kind of the world that he built. And getting the opportunity to do that was really cool.
Yeah, that was a weekend I was saying, all right, well, I got to the end of that Friday, and I said, "Oh, I want to have dinner. Yeah, maybe I'll call up Sully, see if he wants to have dinner." He's not picking up his phone. I said, I'll call Kristen. She's not picking up her phone. I call Bill Heck, not picking up his phone. They're all out tubing on the lake. And I didn't get the invite. I'll tell you a good story. This is so. When I first met Sully and he originally read for Chuck, as he mentioned, he came in and I saw him read. And I said, this is Wayne. He is Wayne. He had Wayne in his blood and bones. And even though David is one of the few lead actors who is not from Wisconsin. He grew up in small town East Texas, I found out. And so I called him right after he read, and called him from my car. I already whispered to him. I said, I'm calling you the moment all these other auditions are over. And I called to say, I want to read through the whole script with you. I think you're Wayne, and I just think you're fantastic. And can we get together tomorrow? Just read through the script. And he's like, oh man. He said, I love the script. I'd love to do it. Can we do it in about 5 days? And I said, yeah, sure. He said, I'm on my way to the airport. He was on his way to fly to East Texas to go to a washer throwing contest. Not washing machines, but big old washers. You put bolts. And it's a drinking game, and he and his buddies get together every year and they're throwing washers. He'll be doing it at 85 and 90, I'm sure. But so it's a story, but which reinforced for me, okay, I have found my Wayne.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was fun. I think I got third place.
That's authenticity right there. You can't buy that.
Yeah.
But there's like a million stories. I mean, I could tell you all kinds. Very first day of scouting, my cinematographer is one of my great friends from UCLA Film School. Also, Nate Goodman, great cinematographer. You can look up his credits. He's done so much good work, and he's a dog lover, and somebody's got their dog in their car and the dog is hanging its head out the window. But who goes up to a dog other than Nate Goodman, leading with their nose to say hello? Well, the first day of scouting, well, where's Nate? We've all walked around the corner to look at our first location. Nate finally comes around the corner just bleeding because he decided to go nose to nose with an unknown dog. And he was able to shoot through the blood. But yeah, there's just so many fun things that happen along the way. But really, the big memories are just like, and David already started talking about some of them, like in that great scene where Chuck is waiting for Wayne after having discovered Lorraine with someone other than himself. But just those moments of discovery where you're sitting as a director below camera and you're watching the script come to life, and you're, as a director, this is what I always say, you always have to at least get what you have in your mind, what made you feel this is a good film. You start seeing every scene, but when you're now leaping beyond that bar, because your actors are suddenly bringing all of this life to the characters, and the scene becomes so much more than you imagined. Those are really the strongest memories, and you really just never forget them, because they just immediately, it's like, oh, you have all your adrenaline going, and it just sears right in as you're watching that for the first time. Like like Sully adding, Chuck says, scripted was, you were right, and David added, I know, turns about what, and it's just the moment, oh, it was brilliant. And then Chuck reaching out, and I remember when Chuck's reaching out, and you have to watch the film to appreciate it, but Wayne's disappearing without Chuck realizing it. And then you discovering it, Sully, because you were going into the room where the little video monitor was, and you came out just laughing and so thrilled with what was going on after you had exited the scene. It was just, it's such great memories.
Yeah.
So you said that they're premiering the film in Canada. What is the plan for distribution at the moment, other than just continuing the film festival scene?
Yeah, so an oft used approach with indie films is you make the film, then you hit the festival circuit to build your profile and get your heads above water, and then you do what we're doing right now, which is we're reaching out to the sales team, and then they'll take it out next year to distributors and platforms. There's so many different outlets and platforms, and that'll come up as we're still finishing off our festival run. Early next year, we'll also be making our approaches to see who can help us get it to a wider audience.
So it's still a little too early to say for sure, like when it's going to come out. Then probably, hopefully next year.
It'll definitely come out next year. On what platform, we don't know, but stay tuned and check us out on Facebook. We'll be posting.
Sure, and I look forward to being able to send other people this, because this is one of my favorite things I've seen this year. So.
Oh, thank you. I got such a tremendous one of our executive producers, another film school friend. Be nice to your fellow students, because they become your great collaborators in life, as I've now mentioned 3. But she just got such a lovely email back from someone who had just seen the film this weekend and said exactly, sort of echoing what you're saying, it was just their favorite film in a long, long time, Tyler. So I appreciate you saying that.
Well, I'm glad you are hearing that from a lot of people. I'm sure that means a lot.
Yeah, especially in this year of COVID, where we're isolated. So it's really great to get the feedback.
Yeah, and it's cool too, because like a lot of times when you make an indie movie, you don't really know who's going to see it, and you don't know if it will ever be seen, and furthermore, you don't really know if it's ever going to get finished. And the fact that we were able to shoot and finish this movie under budget, and to get it into these wonderful, I mean, there's probably 20 or 30 festivals that it's playing in. It's, as Neil said, it's won, I don't know, 6 or 7 of them, and different awards. I don't know, 8 or 10 more where we won different awards. But it's like, we're grateful for the opportunity for movie people to see it. I think people who are buying tickets to film festivals are movie people, and people who are buying tickets to film festivals online is even a more specific group of people who really love film. So to get such positive feedback so early on from that small audience of people who really love film really means a lot to me. I mean, I don't really hang my hat on feedback from people I don't know or care about, but the idea, just because I'm so sensitive, and if somebody says that I'm great, I'm like, oh, awesome. But then again, if somebody says that I suck, then I'm going to be alone in my room for 2 days. So I had to learn early on, not to kind of I had to learn to take feedback with a grain of salt, but to have like film people really say good things about it feels really, really good. And it makes me really anticipate the opportunity for even a wider audience to see it.
Sure. That's all the questions I had for both of you, but I appreciate both your time willing to come on and talk to me and my audience. Cool. Any final thoughts, or just where, I mean, obviously people it's not available to view yet, so, but what kind of social media do you have that you can send people to look at it?
Yeah, I think Smalltown Film has an Instagram account. I think Smalltown W Film. Is that it? I think that's it. And then Smalltown Wisconsin has a Facebook page, and I'm on Instagram at David Sullivan. And I think that we're going to have more and more festivals wanting to show the film. And so by the time you write about this or share this or whatever, I'm sure there's going to be a festival that's going to show it. And you can watch the movie through the right now through the online platforms. But yeah, just thank you for having us. Thank you for watching the film, for liking the film, and for sharing it.
Sure.
Yeah, and look for wider distribution next year. I think we'll be landing somewhere quite good, beaming into your living rooms. So thank you too, Tyler. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Absolutely, Tyler. See you, Neil. See you, Tyler. Thank
See
you.
ya.
See you, Sully.